A child loses the final school place under a correctly applied rule, and the parent has nothing to challenge except the loss itself. The allocation may be right. Treating its justification as the end of the relationship can still leave something morally unfinished. A correct decision can leave something owed because justification answers what should be done, while acknowledgment answers what was done to the person affected. That acknowledgment is not a disguised demand to reverse the outcome. It recognizes a residue that remains even after the choice is defensible. The hard question is what recognition can mean when the decision cannot be changed. The rule worked properly and another family has an equal claim. Consider a bounded scenario. A school has fewer places than applicants, and an automated allocation applies one distance rule consistently to each family. The last place goes to the child living closer. Changing that result would displace another family whose claim is at least as strong under the chosen rule. The parent checks the allocation and finds the distance measured correctly, the capacity genuinely exhausted, and the rule applied in the expected order. Yet the family must reorganize transport, care, and daily routines. Correctness settles the place, it does not absorb the disruption created by losing it. Grant the opposing position. Scarcity requires a choice. The rule treats similar cases alike, and another result would burden someone else. Defeated claims retain significance. Consistency has moral value. It limits favoritism, stabilizes expectations, and gives similar applications similar treatment. Correctness leaves duties unresolved. The automated procedure supplies allocation but lacks regret or moral agency. Human operators remain responsible for the institution's response afterward. Choice leaves relationships unfinished. Reversing a justified result to remove discomfort could create a fresh wrong by transferring the loss to the family entitled under the rule. Recognition preserves the judgment. Moral remainder begins after those points are accepted. The decision deserves defense while the losing party's unmet claim still deserves recognition. Failures require distinct responses. A moral remainder is the residue left when a defensible choice satisfies one obligation, but leaves another genuine claim unmet. Justification does not erase it. Regret can preserve justification. Conflict matters. If both obligations could be fulfilled together, the problem would be neglect or error rather than residue. Settlement can leave residue. In a genuine conflict, choosing the stronger claim can still act against someone with a valid claim. Their loss remains. Real operators inherit relational responsibility. Regret need not signal indecision or error. It can register that the defensible choice imposed a cost that still matters. Explanation cannot erase consequences. Absence of error does not imply absence of loss. One concerns decision quality. The other concerns the person's changed situation. Reasons keep claimants visible. Acknowledgment addresses that situation. It names the cost, addresses the losing party directly, and keeps their claim morally visible. Recorded loss informs planning. Explanation shows why the result followed from the rule. It can confirm correctness while leaving the experience of loss unanswered. False confession distorts accountability. Acknowledgment differs. The institution recognizes that its justified act altered this family's life and addresses them as the bearer of that cost. Other remedies need justification. This exceeds polite sentiment. A generic expression detached from the specific loss may protect institutional self-image while leaving the person unseen. Relationships outlast completed procedures. A correct process can fail after deciding. Its allocation succeeds, but closure treats the losing party as though justification removed their standing. Procedural success leaves obligations. Reversal changes who receives the place. It fits only when the original decision should not stand, which this scenario denies. The premise remains strict. Appeal examines whether the rule or application failed. It corrects error but has little work when review confirms the result. Actual errors demand correction. Repair addresses reducible consequences. Transport help may ease disruption, but practical assistance can still miss the loss's significance. Available repair should follow. Acknowledgment reaches residue other remedies may miss. It recognizes what cannot be made equivalent by improving the next arrangement. Exhausted alternatives create residue. Match the response to the wrong. Correctness may defeat reversal while leaving repair, explanation, or acknowledgement separately relevant. Preventable scarcity signals failure. A serious objection appears. An automated procedure cannot feel regret, recognize residue, or owe acknowledgement because it lacks the required moral capacities. Sentiment cannot change circumstances. The objection defeats anthropomorphism. The mechanism processed inputs by design. It did not choose morally, experience conflict, or regret the consequence. Ceremony can deepen distance. Delegating allocation does not dissolve the institution's relationship. People chose the rule, deployed the process, and remain capable of responding afterward. Action makes recognition credible. Institutional acknowledgement can become hollow. A ritual may display concern while insulating decision-makers from the person and specific consequence. Continued engagement preserves concern. Acknowledgement must be practiced, not simulated feeling. It connects human responsibility to the actual cost while leaving the justified outcome intact. Automation cannot absorb obligation. Acknowledgement begins with specificity. The institution identifies the disrupted routine, lost expectation, or created burden instead of offering interchangeable courtesy. Operators retain the relationship. It also requires ownership. The response should not imply that the parent misunderstood a correct process or reacted badly to disappointment. Distributed work needs answerability. Continuity matters. A reachable human role remains necessary when residue unfolds through later practical consequences. Authority must precede consequences. Proportion keeps the response disciplined. Recognition may be brief for limited loss and deeper when disruption persists, while remaining distinct from reversal. Appeal differs from acknowledgement. The key is compatibility. An institution can defend the allocation, preserve the admitted place, and acknowledge what the losing family bears. Stability need not harden. Acknowledgement can become patronizing if it prescribes emotion, demands gratitude, or dramatizes a loss the person regards as minor. Scale constrains response format. Some people may prefer finality and minimal contact. Respecting that choice can acknowledge standing better than requiring an institutional ritual. Standards can preserve recognition. Return to the bounded case. Staff confirm the allocation, then meet the family to identify disruption and available transition support. Consistency protects similar claimants. That response cannot restore the place, erase disruption, or determine further remedies. Its scope is real because it is limited. Rules can preserve care. The refined principle is responsive recognition. Offer acknowledgement, shape it around the actual consequence, and avoid demanding a particular emotional response. Genuine claims survive defeat. Compare identical allocations. One ends when the token reaches the final desk. The other gives the excluded family a human return point. Human handoff preserves continuity. The outcome remains identical. What changes is whether the institution continues addressing the family affected by its justified act. Acknowledgement survives reasonable disagreement. The comparison validates the distinction. Acknowledgement is separate from correctness, though its form depends on the person, loss, and institutional capacity. Recognition prevents later erasure. The answer is yes. Something can remain owed after a right decision because choosing correctly does not make the losing claim unreal. Correct choices leave obligations. Justification explains why the choice should stand. Acknowledgement recognizes its cost to the person whose valid claim could not prevail. Errors and residues differ. Residue differs from error because correction is not its object. It concerns the relationship continuing after a defensible choice imposes loss, name reasons, and consequences. Acknowledgement differs from reversal because it can affirm the decision and the losing parties standing simultaneously. Those recognitions remain compatible. Memory can reshape capacity. Because the process lacks moral agency, people carry this obligation. Responsibility follows the institution selecting the rule and acting through its result. Additional remedies remain separate. Process design needs a post-decision role with authority, continuity, and access to the consequence, rather than relying on spontaneous kindness. Each condition disciplines acknowledgement. Acknowledgement does not determine whether another response is appropriate. It prevents assuming that a correct outcome exhausts the moral question. Sequence prevents excusing errors. A system can decide correctly yet fail people by treating them as resolved cases. Once the rule produces a defensible answer, someone holds the relationship. The resolution is acknowledgement. not automatic reversal. Preserve the allocation, recognize its cost, and keep a human relationship open. Recognition should fit loss. Evaluate what justification settled, which valid claim remained unmet, and who can still address the person carrying that residue. Explanation and acknowledgment differ. The remaining dilemma is proportionality. Too little recognition creates closure. Too much can become intrusive, performative, or disconnected from what the person wants. Remedies differ. Proportion remains an ethical judgment. That dilemma leads to a broader map. Explanation, appeal, repair, and acknowledgement answer different wrongs. So offering one may leave another untouched. A right decision can still leave a relationship unfinished. The machine is learning. The question is, what are we teaching it?